Welcome to Hard Right, episode number 5. I am your host, Devious Dave Rose, going solo, because it seems to be that I'm the only one with the courage to stand by the truth, rather than have frivolous fun. Because after all, the truth is hard right, and hard right is the truth. So, I'm sure that we're going to get a lot of feathers ruffled here today, as we should, because after all, it is hard right. And really, let's just be honest, you have never met probably, I'll say that, somebody like myself who is just so unabashed at telling the truth, no matter who it offends. Because facts don't care about your feelings. And we've got a lot of stuff, actually, to discuss that I'm sure will shake a few things up and make me even more of a pariah than I am. But then again, I am a professional pariah, and I'm great at what I do. And again, just like Jesus, I'm more than willing to associate with the lepers and the sinners and the prostitutes. But I'm not willing to lie, and I sure as fuck will go into the temple and flip over tables and start whipping bitches. So, yes, Festlove, that actually is Evil Ways. AJ Styles used to use that theme, but I'm sure Aces and Eights used it as well at some point. But yeah, that was Evil Ways, but the instrumental. So, let's get down to it. So, first and foremost, what we're going to start off with is the monkeypox situation. Because there's a lot of things that are being ignored, a lot of things are being derailed, if you want to use that word. But there's a lot of things that are going on that people need to be aware of. And more importantly, there's already several narratives in play that... Shit, I could have told you this in 2019. I mean, after all, if you guys have been paying attention, millions of vaccines for monkeypox were purchased in 2019, even before this whole situation occurred. But the other day I was listening to Derailed episode 227. I guess it was on Sunday. And, well... the subject got brought up by Drew and Drew brought it up, but Tex had a few things to mention. Former co-host here. Went off to go do videos on horror movies. What's up, Casey Isra in the chat? Hope you're doing well after that vicious assault that you suffered. And that basically, if I had my way, I would have had him charged with attempted murder. It's as simple as that. I don't care if you let him into your house. The fact is that he used that sort of pan on your head and then just nonchalantly decided to go on. That shows callousness. That shows somebody who's unrepentant. And, I mean, I know that he feeds cities by being a trucker, but normally, in normal situations, that would be the death penalty. But, you can grease the wheels of justice a fair bit with me, so I'd give him maybe house arrest in his truck. So basically, he can continue to do his deliveries. But regardless, I thought it was callous and absolutely despicable and disgusting that even Drew endorsed it. But then again, we're going to hear, and this isn't a drama stream, but there are things that I do call out. It could be Joe Cronin, it could be Drew, it could be anybody, really. On certain things that I don't agree with when it comes to social confusion, if you want to call it that. And this is why I have to at least review a few things from this stream just to address them, because this seems to be the consensus amongst many. And I want to address it because it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong, and I've got all the graphics. That's why it took me so much time to get all prepped, because there's more graphics than I expected. But you want the proof, you got it. Okay, this is what we do at Hard Right. So we're going to hear from episode 227, derailed, and it's titled Ricky Martin Case Dismissed, Vince McMahon Retires, Monkeypox Health Emergency, which was declared, I believe it was last week, by the World Health Organization. But the timestamp is 3 hours, 11 minutes, and 15 seconds. Casey says in the chat, Drew had no idea about the assault. I call bullshit on that. Everything seems to be some sort of... I mean, it's more choreographed than the WWE. Come on, man. Remember, I was in charge of some of your punishments, even as your representative. Don't tell me it's fucking not choreographed, okay? Thank you. Let's continue. So, let's just hear this, because there's a few points that I want to address, because... Again, it's feeding into the narrative, in my opinion. I believe that Drew is not getting the proper information. But more importantly, I think that we really need to delve deep into this. People just want to tiptoe around it. Nobody seems to have the guts to fucking address this sort of situation when it comes to the trans. And, many people fear about getting canceled or... Again, you insert your own reason in here. You could call it anything, really. And I could call it many things that people would then get very insulted on. But... how about just eliminate that and look at what I'm doing and just going head first into it? Not physically, that'd be disgusting. But just addressing it and being unrepentant, because I'm certainly not going to be coerced. Okay, I have freedom of consciousness, or conscience, I should say, consciousness. I have freedom of conscience, not only under the Magna Carta, okay, which defines common law, but what that's based upon, which is the, what's based upon it, I should say, which is the Canadian Constitution and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. I have the right to believe whatever the fuck I want, and nobody can coerce me into thinking anything different, no matter how psychotic they might be. Now, let's get into this.
I want to get some sort of context here. So let's go ahead and take a look at what CNN...
And I'll say this. I'm not sure if I can call this... what's the word? What's the proper word? Virtue signaling. But then again, he's not the only one. Joe Cronin has done the same thing. I might have to pull up one of his videos and shit, saying something similar, but enough is enough. Okay, this is hard right. We don't tolerate this fucking namby-pamby fucking, you want to tiptoe around something that you totally know I'm right about, and you know the truth. But everyone seems to know the truth about this, but nobody wants to fucking have the guts to fucking talk about it. And this is not about fucking hate. Oh, if it was, and it was as bad of a world as the trans people make it out to be, you'd have fucking death camps throughout the fucking entire country, just fucking turning these people to soap or something. That's not happening. In fact, they're more protected than the majority of people. Let's continue.
And then, had to say.
And again, if anyone can correct me on this, please do so in the chat. Does anyone else have the guts to talk about this? Bluntly and honestly without having to tiptoe over, oh, who am I going to offend? Oh, am I going to be canceled? Oh, I don't have the right to fucking think what I want. You goddamn Americans. You've got your fucking Constitution to protect you. If you haven't read it, I'd suggest you get one of those pocket ones, okay? People give them out for free.
About monkeypox and exactly how much they're trying to scare the ever-living shit out of you.
Now, there are multiple plans going on right now. Are they attempting to utilize this to, let's just be honest, this is a mask. It is attempting to cover some of the symptoms that do come from the jabby, the pinch. But it is also something else that they've had planned for a while. This is already the case because we know this, not just from government white papers. I'm going to be showing those in a moment, actually showing a timeline that they had planned for this outbreak. But the fact that, yes, function of gain had been done on these particular viruses in an attempt to end diseases and so forth, in an attempt to make them even more efficient. That is to say, to make them even better killers. And, coincidentally, as soon as this was announced by the WHO, the World Health Organization, that there was a worldwide pandemic, stock markets went through the roof. And I'm sure that, again, if you want to think really strategically, as the economy goes into a depression, because that's what it's going into right now, if you want to try to maintain some viability, if you want to call it that, in the stock market, or at least to obfuscate the losses that are currently occurring, you make one of these announcements, which is going to certainly build up the stock market with the increased investment by people who know, hey, this is another pandemic, and it's certainly going to make us money, so we got to be ready to invest. Let's continue.
Over something that should you be? We got to be careful. You know how YouTube gets.
No. If you don't stand up to evil, you are allowing it. Okay? What do you value more, your freedom or your security? Because if you're willing to give up your freedom for your security, you deserve neither. And, that's a famous quote.
When we discuss things of this nature, so we got to be a little bit careful, but at the same time, we're going to be using facts.
No, I cartwheel on minefields, okay? I cartwheel on them. It's safe? Fuck.
To give our opinions. From CNN Health, the World Health Organization, the WHO, has declared the monkeypox outbreak a public health emergency of international concern. What a great first sentence, don't you think?
Sounds familiar, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think I read something like this 2.5 years ago. Anyways, moving on. The decision was announced Saturday morning after WHO convened its convened its second.
You're reading CNN. Come on, you understand that they're stupid. Come on.
Isn't there an I in convened?
I believe so.
I mean, this is CNN.
Wesley, 1.5 times speed. Engage.
Bad proofreading in articles the last year or so.
It's enraging. I mean,
yeah.
And it's also, you read like fucking op-eds and shit, and they're horrible punctuation and spelling and words used, and then their opinions are dog shit anyways, and it just doesn't help their case any. But anyways, the decision was announced Saturday morning after WHO convened its second emergency committee on the issue on Thursday. Quote, I have decided that the global monkeypox outbreak represents a public health emergency of international concern, end quote. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom, I'm not even doing the last name.
Another well-known American. Can't even speak ethnic.
As you can see, it announced on Saturday. Jesus Christ. He said, look at wow. See, here's another thing. When you're using someone's name again in a following sentence, you use the last name. You don't use the first name. So if I say, Vince McMahon retired from professional wrestling, later on...
I do apologize for this extra stuff that he's inserting here. I can't control that, really.
McMahon said, I don't go later on, Vince said. And they go with his first name. So yeah, just another idiot. And I'm not even a journalist. I'm just some amateur asshole on YouTube. Anyways, the committee was unable to reach a consensus. He came to the decision after considering the 5 elements required on deciding whether an outbreak constitutes a public health emergency of international concern. What are those 5 things? Was that in the article here? He added that he was declaring monkeypox. Jesus, you just keep repeating the same fucking thing. Fuck this article. All right, let's get to the facts here, guys. All right, so the monkeypox outbreak of 2022. What are the statistics here so far? That's going to be an important thing to pay attention to here. 17,233 confirmed cases since May 4th, 2022. That is worldwide. 294 are suspected but not confirmed, and 5 deaths, all of which are in non-endemic African countries. Endemic meaning a country that has came to terms with whatever disease floats around their area. So, like the flu is an endemic here in the United States. Whether we want to admit it or not, COVID is basically... not legally, no one's announced it, but it's basically endemic here, and will be for the rest of the time, just like Drew called 2.5 years ago. Quit freaking out about it. Just let it become one with society, and we'll move on. But, I'm just an idiot that loses all of his videos when he gives an opinion of that sort. But here's your numbers. 17,000 confirmed cases, only 5 deaths, and guess how many are in the United States? Tex, I will let you answer this question. How many deaths in the United States from monkeypox as we sit here right now?
Well, see, that's not necessarily, that's a little disingenuous there. Okay. Now, granted, things aren't always what they appear to be, and we do know that there was, well, a lot of investment in the monkeypox vax in 2019. We also know that, during these inoculation stations in the late 70s, early 80s in San Francisco and other cities with a big predominant gay population, that these inoculation sites that supposedly were protecting them were actually infecting them with AIDS. Now, people might call that a conspiracy, but it's not. But yeah, there's a lot of correlation when it comes to all this, and the same strategy is utilized every time. But we're going to get into why that is. Let's just continue.
I'm going to guess 0.
Bingo! Hey, but it's a huge
Wow.
health concern around here.
Yes. Well, that's supposedly what is the death rate. But why don't we take a look at the infection rate? That is also something, because that's what's fueling the desire for the vaccination. Not some sort of pandemic where a ton of people are dying, but there are obviously several cases. Now, the truth is that the majority of cases of monkeypox exist in Africa, which come from the consumption of what's called bushmeat. Okay, so any animal just about out there in the bush that you eat either raw, uncooked, or haven't removed any parasites or anything lead to monkeypox. It's predominantly an African, a disease from the African continent. So, that's something to keep in mind. Let's continue.
I don't even work for the CDC, and I knew that.
Yeah.
Can I go get a job there? Like, is that how they hire these people?
Well, I mean, if you're going to
I'll
call
take
something
it.
a public health concern with no deaths in the
Well,
country, I mean, you know.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, though, more people died after the vaccines were introduced than prior, Drew. Again, it doesn't seem to get into people's heads. If you look at the statistics, you realize that infections like polio, smallpox, and other yellow fever, other things that were present on North America declined. Not because of vaccination rates, but because improved hygiene and sanitation in cities. A lot of the photos that they show of people with polio and iron lungs, those were the people that got vaxxed. And, they had an adverse reaction to it. So, you gotta be researching this stuff.
You know. Here's another
Earlier,
thing. No, go ahead,
sorry.
Casey. Go ahead.
I was going to say earlier, you said the Who. I was like, the band?
Yes, the band.
I mean,
Of
what's-
course, you have to say that, Casey.
I mean,
Way to draw out the show.
what does the band got to do with this outbreak?
Probably quite a bit, you know.
See, Casey, there's 3 letters you should be
That's a terrible fucking joke.
focusing on right now, but it's not WHO, it's CTE after those headshots. So you might need to go get looked at, my friend, because I think it knocks you even stupider than before. So.
What I need to get looked at is where this paragraph is I'm looking for. I ran into the same thing on Insomniac last night. And I do see the call coming in. I will get to it here momentarily. But note this paragraph here really quick. And this is from Wikipedia, although it does have a source, connected just as it always does. Like this one, funny enough, is 69 is the number of the source. You're going to see how hilarious this is when I read on May 23rd, David Hyman, an advisor for the WHO, said that the likely theory of how the outbreak started in transmission during sexual intercourse of gay and bisexual men at...
Don't worry, it's not an entire Drew review, okay? I'm just setting this up here because I want to get you guys to hear Tex's response and then Drew's response to that, which is fallacious, and I have the graphics ready to disprove it. So let's continue. Shout out to Out with Cows.
2 raves in Belgium and Spain. On May 25th, The Guardian stated...
They weren't raves, they were orgies, Drew. They were actual orgies. Disgusting.
that many scientists suspected that the disease was circulated in the UK and Europe before reaching the MSM community. Possibly misdiagnosed or detected only in isolated cases. 4 cases were diagnosed in 2018, 2019. All the individuals received recently arrived.
Okay, guys, if you're going to fight in the chat, the clear winner will be the one who donates the most. So how about that? Okay, so, we're going to have to heat things up. If you guys want to be having a little slap fight there in the chat, well, vote with your with your money. How about that?
Arrived from Nigeria. And again, even though Wikipedia may not be a source, there are sources.
Nigeria? You mean on the African continent, where people who consume bushcraft, or quite honestly, they'll find an albino. So some black guy was born with like pale white skin and like, weird red hair and blue eyes and stuff. These people will hunt them down, cut them up, and eat them raw. Cannibalism, because they think that it'll cure AIDS or do something. In fact, at one point there was this idea. I think it was predominant in South Africa, but in many other places of Africa, where if you raped an infant child anally, it would cure your AIDS. Yes, you can look it up. I'm not going to bring up the article, but yeah, let's continue.
To each of these, I wasn't going to put 6,000 sources into the box when you can just go to the bottom of the Wikipedia page to acknowledge those articles and take a look at them, which I have looked at as well. There was another thing, and I'm looking for it in here, and this is where I'm struggling a little bit. Here it is. On June 23rd, the New York Department... Jesus Christ. The damn thing. Anyways, on June 23rd, it's in the center of the screen here. On June 23rd, the New York City Department of Health announced a clinic at the Chelsea Sexual Health Clinic to offer the 2 doses of what is basically the vaccine for this. It's very similar to the smallpox vaccine. And
the one they've had since 2019 that they bought millions of doses, including Canada, by the way.
Does its job. But they're...
Wonder why, though. I wonder what they knew back then. I wonder what they were planning. Oh, wait, that's being telegraphed in front of our eyes right now, something that Dave had said for years. But what the fuck do I know? Let's continue.
The New York, this office here has basically said that the vaccine needs to first go to all gay, bisexual, and other men who have had sex with men, cisgender or transgender.
On the screen right now, you should see that actual order.
Ages 18 and older who have multiple or anonymous...
This is, by the way, we're getting to the point where his argument starts to break down. This is going to be hilarious. The graphics you're going to see are just certainly going to trigger a few.
Partners in the last 14 days. Why only 18 and older? Because as you look at some of this stuff in these articles, we're looking...
Why? Because if you actually started to if you started first looking for patients, because that's what they're doing really here, looking for patients that fit within these confines, it'll start to reveal a massive amount of sexual abuse on children in the United States. So let me bring up that. First of all, while I bring that up, here's a nice little comic here. And this should give you an idea. I just got to find the graphic that I'm referring to, which basically talks about the fact that there's already 2 cases, I think it's in California, where 2 young kids were infected by monkeypox, but then they admitted later on in the article that they had been exposed to bisexual and gay men. And we're going to get into that, something that I'm sure will piss people off. But, yeah, there's going to be a lot of factual evidence that's going to be shown that is probably going to disrupt the narrative that has been put into your brain. So if you just bear with me here, I'm just trying to find the graphic. I thought I had downloaded this. Yeah, I did. So where is it? Well, okay, I'll put it in again. Fuck you. Where the fuck did it go? Jeez. So I've saved it to another folder then, I guess. Jeez. Okay, so if you'll just bear with me here. I fucked up again. Okay. Save. I'll just rename it so I can fucking find it. Piece of shit motherfucker. Oh my fucking God. It's really starting to piss me off. All right, here we go. This is from the dailymail.uk.co.uk. Do apologize for that. Do apologize also for not keeping up with the chat. Goon says this consumption was evident in the Congo Free State during the rule of King Leopold II, as well as some of the most inhumane means of torture. Yes, if people want to know about, one of the worst massacres that ever occurred on the planet, check that out. I believe he was the King of Belgium, or Emperor of Belgium. But yeah, he and the Belgians, they sell weapons to the entire world. They've got colonies in France, in Africa, and they've done some very, very bad things. So yeah, there you go. So U.S. records first two child monkeypox cases, but they both had contact with gay or bisexual men. So let's continue.
Looking at these websites, is deaths are found mostly in people with HIV or the youth, as in children. So why?
No, it's not. It's found in cases of basically adults to the 18 to 30, basically. Those are the most cases of HIV and AIDS, according to the CDC.
Would we be giving the vaccines? Now, I could see maybe giving, I don't know, this isn't 1987. It's not gay people that have AIDS anymore.
Here's another problem. It is gay people that have AIDS. Let me just pull up that folder then, I guess. If we're going to have to go back and forth between the gays and the trans. And you know what? There are gays that hate the trans. And the trans obviously hate the gays because at least they're happy with who they are. But let me just find this here. There you go. You can confirm these with the CDC. This is from 2016, so the stats have increased, actually. But, yeah, so, again, 55% of HIV carriers. Really, Drew? This is the virtue signaling that's coming out here. Like, oh, well, it can't be this. And I mean, you'll hear more. But he's not the only person guilty of this. There's many people guilty of this, Joe Cronin included. And again, I'll call anyone out on this. Well, sorry, not anyone. Everyone out on this. It's as simple as that. You want a virtue signal and use your pom-poms and dress in a skirt? That's fine, but I ain't calling you a she. And I'm certainly going to prove that this is mental illness. And that the majority of people that do abuse people are homosexuals. And we're going to get to that soon enough. So let's continue.
That's not how it works. So, I don't understand the 18 and older thing. Why wouldn't you make them available to people with HIV and people who are under the age of 18 that are old?
See, this is another thing that is not being taken in consideration and it's going to be talked about later. I mean, I believe Tex is attempting to allude to it, but he's not being specific. The gay lifestyle, according to, again, the CDC, the WHO, and all these different organizations that pool their information together so that every year it's reviewed by medical professionals, is that the lifestyle is that I think they have about 80%, and I've got to find this graphic, about 80% of their partners are anonymous, that they have unprotected sex quite often, and that they go to areas and places like a bath house where the risk is known. The risk is known from the activity, and they continue to do it anyways.
Old enough to take a vaccine.
And again, who has the guts to fucking say that shit? I'm basing it on actual statistical fact. Does anybody else have that fortitude to do so?
Get that, but it is New York after all. But I did also want to point out that another reference.
Look into the statistics for San Francisco there, Drew.
To that the people that seem to be most susceptible to getting this, and apparently the origins of this whole thing, are from the gay male specifically community, which leads you to assume how it's spreading. But at the same time, you go to the CDC, and here's what they say. This is directly from the CDC website in the interest of showing the truth, because they're always truthful there at the CDC, everybody. But here is how they say it spreads. Now, note something that's missing from this as I read it. Monkeypox
You know what's missing? The lifestyle choices of homosexual men.
spreads in different ways. The virus can spread from person to person through direct contact with the infectious rash, scabs, or bodily fluids. Respiratory secretions during prolonged face-to-face contact or during intimate physical contact such as kissing, cuddling, or sex. Sex in general. It stops at sex there in this particular piece here. Touching items such as clothing or linens that previously touched the infectious rash or bodily fluids. Pregnant women, or pregnant people, Jesus. I just said women because duh, but of course CDC is going to say pregnant people can spread the virus to their fetus through the placenta. So, but one thing this thing doesn't say, and makes me very curious, because as we saw, there were several articles in several health departments speaking about how gay, or making it seem very obvious that there's a concentration on gay males with this thing. And I'm not trying to turn this into a, oh my God, stay away from gay people. That's not what I'm doing here.
Well, considering their lifestyle choices, maybe you want to. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Call me bigot or whatever you want, but if these people are living a lifestyle where they're highly infectious, I mean, it could be anything. I mean, if you're eating raw, meat, and or you're going, say, I don't know, you're going to Dominican Republic and you don't get your typhoid fever vaccine, and then you start to spread it amongst people. That's a reason to keep away from somebody.
What I'm trying to prove or point out is that we've got all of these other health professionals, if you will, the New York Health Department, or the name of that office that's failing me right now. The other article that points out how they believe in Spain and Belgium is where this all got started, at some sort of gay party, as they put it. But the CDC is not recognizing that at all in how it spreads.
The CDC also didn't recognize that hydrochloroquine was able to, basically cure you entirely of the weaponized flu made in China and assisted by Canada, United States, and Ukraine. That is fact. Let's continue.
I'm really confused by that. And is the CDC trying to be as PC as they can? Or are they trying to restrict information? Or
are they trying to restrict information? What, you haven't experienced that before with anything?
Are these other organizations trying to run with something? And why would the New York, the fuck is it called? The New York City Department of Health. That's the proper.
How about just look at who's making profit from the vaccines? Maybe that, and what connections they have to the administration, where they lobby and they invest. Well, invest, and that's the proper word to say it. But they grease the wheels. Hey, and now you passed a law that lets us give this experimental jab to children, 6 months old. Oh, okay. And hey, now we got a contract to be the exclusive provider of this vaccine to the government. Yeah, it's so simple. It's so fucking simple.
Per term at the.
And this is also quite frustrating, is the fact that how can anyone not see this? How is it so difficult to comprehend? They've been telling us what they were planning to do for decades. Look up Agenda 21, which eventually became Agenda 2030. And they keep changing the names, but the plan is essentially the same. And they publish it themselves. You want to see what the World Economic Forum has planned with the Great Reset? Check out their website. They literally use those words, and they have all of that information right there for you. They're not shy about it. Why is everyone calling this conspiracy when they don't even want to look at the source that's saying it in the first place? Well, I know. Cowardice. Let's continue.
Chelsea Sexual Health Clinic. Are they trying to spread some false shit? Or is CDC not giving us all the information? Someone help me out here. I need a breath.
I don't know why we're worried about any of this. Nobody's going to die from this shit. There are so many other things we could be worried about at all. This is obviously, the fact that you had to tiptoe around so many of these things, talking about these homosexuals and stuff, this is a trap situation.
There we go. Now he's getting into it. Also, before we continue, well, actually, no, we'll save that for later. This one's actually very funny. But let's continue.
This is one of those situations that if you start talking about it too much, you come off as a hate monger. Because even they are trying to dodge oh, well, let's not point it to gay people, but this is exactly what they're doing here.
This is what I'm trying to prevent, and there's already
Well, they actually telegraphed it even before it was announced as a pandemic. Is that we fear that the gay community might be inadvertently targeted for the spread of this stuff. But if the spread of this stuff comes from gay activity, that concern is justified. It's not a phobia, because a phobia is an irrational fear. No, it's certainly quite rational. You attended a 3-day orgy with thousands of people from around the world. Now you got monkeypox, and you want to come into my store? You want to shake my hand? Abso-fucking-lutely not.
Misinformation is one of the subsections of this thing on Wikipedia. Already saying misinformation and conspiracy theories. Basically, the stuff people are trying to. Whoever's coming out with these conspiracy theories, and I'd love to hear the explanation for this, because they're basically trying to pass this as the new COVID. The whole in a lab.
Well, yes, they are. That is true. But, whoops. Let's try that again. Once more.
Theories, basically the stuff people are trying to. Whoever's coming out with these conspiracy theories, and I'd love to hear the explanation for this, because they're basically trying to pass this as the new COVID. The whole in a lab in Wuhan.
Yes, true. It was made in a lab in Wuhan. It went first from Fort Detrick to the bioweapons lab and they don't call it that, but it's a bioweapons lab in Winnipeg, Canada. Chinese spies took information from there. They weren't arrested. They were deported. Took it back to Wuhan. Developed it further. Sent samples to Ukraine to the bioweapons lab. And then released it in Wuhan. That is the timeline. Simple as that. So to dismiss this like, oh, it's not a bioweapon, you have experts out there that not only have been saying it for years, you have people now who have pivoted and been like, I was wrong. I was just thinking, it couldn't be that bad. But yeah, this clearly is engineered. And the only way it could have been released was purposely.
This and that.
Well, look at it this way. They leave enough Easter egg for a normal person to say, "Oh, well, this started out with the gay people. This is because of them." Then a few sentences later, they say, "Oh, well, gay people should get it first." So they're showing them as the elite class. What did we just come out of Pride Month? There's already a division and separation as it is. This is, like I said, a trap situation set up to.
Let me slow it down because she's talking a little too fast. Wesley, back to normal speed. Engage.
Create controversy, to get people talking about it, to get people arguing, just like racism, sexism, everything else is, when it's nothing. It's monkeypox. Nobody's dying from this. It's not.
Yeah, but see, everyone lining up for that jabby for the monkeypox. Maybe just getting another weaponized immunological deficient system into their bodies that is going to eventually force them to be on medication for the rest of their lives, or, be such a detriment to their health that they're going to have to choose euthanasia. That was the whole purpose of this. This is a massive depopulation plan. Again, something that blows my mind that people are just so blind to. They literally told you this. And, the destruction of the Georgia Guidestones certainly isn't coincidence. They've told you this. They've told you this in so many documents. Now, maybe you don't want to read. That ain't my fucking problem. But don't come fucking doubting me when I've done the fucking legwork and research necessary to say, yes, this is true, and I can show you the information. But you're going to actually have to read it. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. Well, don't come, saying that I'm wrong. Everyone has an opinion. It has a right to an opinion, even if it's wrong. But I'm not going to, just allow it because it's wrong. No.
It's going to be a big deal. It's going to be much less of a deal than even the COVID was. This is bullcrap. It's a shit story. There's nothing here about it.
So I do want to point out, and let me go. This one I did not have, for whatever reason, I did not have this in the sources, but I'll make sure to put it in there. When you go to the actual monkeypox, which there you can see what it looks like. That's a rash on a 4-year-old girl from 1971. It goes through some of the different things. 5 to 21 days post-exposure is the usual onset, duration 2 to 4 weeks. It goes through all that information at the bottom. Deaths. The percentage, which is interesting, the percentages are higher than COVID.
You know what? I'm going to open up the Skype lines now in case everyone, wants to mention anything, but I'm going to continue, and I've got more to show.
But then you look at where these percentages are. 3.6% Western Africa, 10.6% Congo.
Third world shitholes. Yes.
So what's that going to be in Western culture? Now, granted, it's in endemic status in a lot of these countries that have these numbers, but you would also think that would mean they know how to handle that a little bit better. But in Western culture, I mean, they've already got vaccines here in the U.S. that they're buying and producing and such in preparation for this. And this is a vaccine that many of us, maybe not us younger ones, have already taken. I don't know. When did they... Was it the 70s or the 80s when they discontinued the smallpox vaccine? Does anyone remember?
Oh,
I have no clue.
I have no clue.
I know I read that somewhere. I thought it said 70s, but at the same time, I feel like that's something because it's not eradicated. So you would think it would still be available, but it said that they had discontinued.
Yeah, but they eradicated in North America.
At some point. I'm not able to pull it up at this moment. I did a lot of research on this yesterday, and some of this is obviously coming back from memory, as there's a lot of information on this, and trying to understand and sift through the bullshit. And right now, just with the limited time that we have on this topic, some of the things I wanted to point out were what appear to be hypocrisies, and that's what I pointed out so far, is why is this not matching up with that? Why is the CDC not matching up? Because something like... And again,
Why? That's a good transition. I'll get to it. Okay, well, actually, I'm not going to show that image just yet. Where is it? Come on. There we go. Why is it? You guys want to know? Here's the truth. Here's the fucking truth, guys. So, I'm going to bring this image up, and I'm going to read it out to y'all. So, I'm just going to get back to the folder here. And again, who has the guts to fucking cover this like I do? Nobody does. Nobody does. So this is from the book, excuse me, Homosexuality and American Psychiatry, The Politics of Diagnosis by Ronald Baer. And apparently was made, I guess, at some point in the 80s, because it's with a new afterwards on AIDS and homosexuality. So... It's titled, This is Why Science Abandoned Researching Cures for LGBT Mental Illness. So we're going to read this actually from the top here. Hopefully you guys can zoom in and see it properly, but I'll read it out for you. And this is a continuing... hold on. Yeah. So aware of the organizational weakness of his own Mattachine society as well as of its relative conservatism, Frank Kameny turned to a Gay Liberation Front collective in Washington to plan the May 1971 demonstrations. Together with the collective, Kameny developed a detailed strategy for disruption, paying attention to the most intricate logistical details, including the floor plan of the hotel in which the convention was to be housed. Hoping to avoid the chaos of its previous meeting, the APA prepared for the expected disruption by hiring a special security consultant who was to map a strategy for diffusing potentially explosive confrontations. Special consideration regarding the security of the convention were also called for, since it was known that anti-war activists, this is still during the Vietnam War, were planning to converge on Washington during the first week in May to engage in massive civil disobedience. In an effort to limit the extent of possible violence, the APA's leaders decided to avoid at all cost any reliance upon a show of force by uniformed guards or police, a less provocative posture, one that entailed a willingness to ride out rather than prevent demonstrations, was agreed upon. And anytime that you give in to your enemy, this is what happens. The planned disruption occurred on May 3rd when gay and anti-war activists stormed into the prestigious convocation of fellows. During the ensuing uproar, Kameny grabbed a microphone and denounced the right of psychiatrists to discuss the question of homosexuality. I'll say that again because that's exactly where we are right now, but with the trans stuff and why, kids as young as, 4 or 5 can be allowed to cut off their own genitals. During the ensuing uproar, Kameny grabbed a microphone and denounced the right of psychiatrists to discuss the question of homosexuality. Borrowing from the language of the anti-war movement, he declared, "Psychiatry is the enemy incarnate. Psychiatry has waged a relentless war of extermination against us. You may take this as a declaration of war against you." Fist-shaking psychiatrists, infuriated by the invaders, compared their tactics to that of the Nazi stormtroopers. Very true. But no, this is actually the Antifa. Antifascista. That's actually how they were acting, because that's exactly how Antifa acted back in the 1920s and 30s. This, again, remember, this idea of promoting homosexuality is a tenet of Marxism. It's just a simple fact. I'm saying that as simple fact, not out of love, not out of hate, but out of indifference, because this is just a fact. I'm just here to tell you the truth. You can judge it on how you want. You can call in and dispute me if you have the guts, which I doubt few do. But regardless, or you can call in and agree with me and probably take shit from a lot of people because you're showing that you're willing to stand up for your beliefs. But regardless, we continue. The tone and mood of intimidation produced by this encounter pervaded the convention from that point. Using forged credentials, gay activists gained access to the exhibit area and gained access to the exhibit area and, coming across a display marketing aversive conditioning techniques for the treatment of homosexuals, demanded its removal. Well, that sounds very similar to today now, doesn't it? Threats were made against the exhibitor, who was told that unless his booth was dismantled, it would be torn down. So it's perfectly fine for them to intimidate and threaten force of violence, but if someone, says, "I won't stand for it and I'll defend it," that's homophobia? Who's got the guts to fucking say that? Who's got the guts? Nobody's got the guts. At least nobody that I've seen so far. I mean, anyone got the guts to even type in the chat, for that matter? Whether you agree or disagree? Or is this a topic that you have to walk on eggshells for? Because at Hard Right here, because clearly I've been left solo. It is what it is. You could try to dispute it and bring me facts and we can have a good discussion, or you can seethe and rage and accept the fact that I'm right and you can't do anything about it. Let's continue. After frantic behind-the-scenes consultations and in an effort to avoid violence, the convention leadership agreed to have the booth removed. Robinson, who had been acting as an intermediary between the APA and the homosexuals, was himself taken aback by the intensity of the rage and cautioned Kameny to temper the tactics of his code monstrators. His call for moderation was dismissed. Robinson continued to perform the self-described function of bagman with the association's quest for order being held at ransom. And the summary there at the bottom says the psychiatric community was literally terrorized by leftist gay activists into removing the classification of homosexuality as a disorder. Once it became a normal sexual variant, all research became politically taboo. And again, who has the guts to bring up this information for you? Who has the guts to talk about this? It doesn't seem like anybody but me. And hey, if you can disprove me, well, Skype lines are open. You know, you should be able to type in the chat there. So, are you offended? Does such truth offend you? Obviously not Getty Lee's Owl Nose, who's in the chat there, active. But yes, it seems that very, very few people have the guts to actually address these sorts of things. And it's sad because it really just goes to show that there's some people who are willing to stand up to something they know it's wrong, that is wrong, and those that truly are gutless. Sorry, unless I actually see somebody standing up for this shit, you're just going with the flow. And with all these apologies, like, oh, well, we can't be concentrating on the gay people. But if they're spreading it, then maybe we should. And this isn't saying, oh, let's just go fucking kill them all. It's basically saying, well, hold on a second here. This is called pattern recognition. This is how humans survive for hundreds of thousands of years. Oh, snake, poisonous, do not approach. Ah, I live again. I can have kids, procreate. That's pattern recognition. So this delusion and this not only pandering, but this virtue signaling and shit is disgusting. And I'll call it out for whoever fucking does it. Shout out to the man with 2 first names. But more importantly, I'll call out anyone who doesn't have the guts to stand up on something that they claim that they believe in and then don't have the guts to fucking do so when, you know, the metal hits the, what's that term? Metal hits the, whatever. You know what I'm saying. It's like you can virtue signal all you want, but on either side, really, on either side. But if you're not willing to stand up for something that you claim is wrong, well, that speaks more about you. And let's take a look at this now here about trannies. That in a sexual species, there are 2 sexes. And that's what they're called. Not genders, sexes. Male and female. 99.93% of humans have either an XX or an XY sex chromosome. The rest is mutation. Being one sex, but thinking you're the other is a psychological disorder. And only recently was that removed from the psychological manual that is utilized as a standard throughout the world, especially in America, mandating a widespread enabling of a psychological disorder is sociopathy. So, that can't be denied. Let me just get some more images here. Here we go. Transgenders are, yes, that's right, man with 2 first names. Gender dysphoria. It used to be called gender identity disorder. But now they call it gender dysphoria. But regardless, it is something that is clearly being fed by these sociologists who certainly have no understanding of mental illness. And, well, it certainly goes to show because there are thousands of people that are doing what's called detransitioning. So they were a man, they changed to a woman, and they took the hormones and all that shit, and then they realized, no, this wasn't me. I just fell for this fucking bullshit. I want to get off the hormones. I want to get back to being a man and so forth, and they detransition. Many a time they've already gone through the full operation, so they're not going to get a cock back. There's been women who have gone through that and then detransitioned as well. So women that turned into men and then detransitioned to become women again. Many of them still suffer from psychological, major psychological issues. You've got this image here, which goes to show that they are literally a danger to people around them. And as you can see, that as soon as these laws were enabled, where people, transgenders, could go into bathrooms, massive amounts of sex assaults happen, including in prisons. Let me just show this here. Hold on. Here, let's show this one. I'll read it out to you as well. All right, so again, something else that nobody wants to talk about, but it's all in the statistics. So I'll read it out. Although homosexuals account for less than 2% of the population, they constitute about a third of child molesters. This is actually a very conservative number. I can show you that it's about 60 or more. And you have obviously the links as to where that information is coming from, the source there. Further, as noted by the Encino, California-based National Association for the Research of Therapy of Homosexuals, since homosexual pedophiles victimize far more children than do heterosexual pedophiles, it is estimated that approximately 80% of pedophile victims are boys who've been molested by adult males. And again, you can look into that as well. Well, see, Man with Two First Names says, I'm sure that they suffer from psychological issues pre-transition as well. Absolutely, which is what led to that transition. They were suffering from gender identity disorder, gender dysphoria, however you want to call it. But because of that, and because it wasn't addressed, or you have a parent, usually a mother, not always, but usually a mother, that has the... I just had in my head Munchausen. I gotta remember the exact Munchausen syndrome, I believe. Munchausen syndrome, yes, Munchausen syndrome by proxy. So whatever psychological issue the mother has, she's imposing that on the child, and it's being manifested by her telling her son, "No, you're a girl. You should wear girl things," and doing that sort of thing. And plus, without a stable, family with two, parents, a mother and a father, you're further going to get this sort of situation. That's just fact. Let's get to this graphic here, and this is just admission as well. Okay, so they've, many people have come out and basically said, yeah, we are trying to groom your kids. We are. And if you can see right there, I might have to make that a bit bigger, so bear with me here. Nope. Should come out a little bit bigger. But this article here from Queerty was actually published with the byline, can we please just start admitting that we do actually want to indoctrinate kids? Well, people said that for the longest time. And, in this thread here, he says, is homosexuality linked to pedophilia? Yes. 1 to 3% of the population are gay, approximately. 96% of all child molesters are male, and 1/3 of child molestation victims are boys. 1 to 3 of the population commits 1/3 of the child molestation. That's huge. So if 1 to 3% of the population is doing 35%, and 95% are doing 65%, 36 divided by 3 is 11.5. Each percentage is worth 11.5% molestation. So 65 divided by 95 is a 0.6-ish, 0.68. We can call it 0.7. Exact percentage accounts for 0.7% of the molestation. 11.5 divided by 0.7 is 16.4. So gay men are 16.4 times as likely to molest boys as a straight man is to molest a girl. Okay, I'll say that once more. Gay men are approximately 16.4 times as likely to molest a boy as a straight man is to molest a girl. Okay? Is it coming through here? Is it making sense? These are just the statistical facts. You want to dig into why that is? Well, we can keep digging. But again, these statistics don't lie. Math isn't racist. So these are the figures that are coming out. Again, guy gets AIDS. Gay guy gets AIDS, has to go to the hospital, it's reported, and so forth. It goes into the statistics. Then his lifestyle is obviously, okay, well, what were you doing in the last month? Okay, when did you think you get it? Blah, blah, blah. Is it that difficult to understand, or is it that just too many of you don't have the courage and guts to stand up and ask a simple fucking question? Not out of hate, but out of curiosity. What the fuck's going on? Let's move on here to this graphic. Not that one. There we go. Speaking of psychological issues pre-transition, you've got the rate of suicide attempts. And as you can see right here, that those that are trans or gender non-conforming are 40%, plus 40%, more likely to commit suicide than either lesbian, gay, or bisexuals, or who are at 20%. Again, that's a huge amount. So indicating massive amount of mental illness, as opposed to under 5% of the overall population. Overall, remember, the overall population is straight. So these numbers should wake you up. These numbers should speak for themselves. Now, I don't understand why I need to explain about these numbers. Maybe they're, math is offensive, first of all, for the intellectually weak, but also it's racist because that's what CNN told me. So this is something that, again, I ask somebody to comment on, because it seems that nobody seems to have the guts to discuss this. But why is that? Why is it exactly that nobody wants to address this? Because these are the stats that are being released publicly. So, since they are public, Drew, you do review a lot of stuff that's, you review stuff that is public, simple. Why not this? Why not this stuff here that I called out for the longest time? Is that when you start to acknowledge this crap and move them into female jails, they're going to start to actually assault the other women in the female jails and either rape them, which have been many cases, or get them pregnant. Who wants to address that? Nobody? I didn't think so. So let's get to this graphic here. This one's an interesting one. And it just explains further about the mental issues that currently go on. Let me just read this here. So this person here is a gynecologist, and they said they have had several cases of male to female. I'll be honest with you, it's not good. I actually don't advise for these surgeries because of the rate of complication is so high, which probably explains why the rate of suicide for post-op is nearly untouched. Just a thought. Anyway, a patient comes in, male to female, had their surgery about a month ago, says, there's something not right down there. As the patient was taking off their underwear, I noticed that the self-made bandages and padding layer being taken off until the room is hit with one of the most nasty, putrid smells I can remember. We gagged. That's how bad it was. It basically looked like an unhealed wound that had gotten infected for a long time, mind you. There was pus, crust of stuff looking like impetigo, chunks of skin that would fall off when further examined, molted with hair. I could, with my finger, touch a pelvic arch through the opening. That's to give you an idea of the extent of ulceration. The pain was pretty bad, and we had to administer lidocaine several times. The patient said she did everything right, from dilators to hygiene. I'm not going to judge, but I think that wasn't the case. Who knows? We cleaned her up as best we could and tried to keep the cavity open. It's hard to heal the body when everything you do promotes healing, yet you're trying to keep a wound open. My advice to you, really think this through. Our patient regarded the surgery so much she took her own life a couple of weeks after the consultation. Edit, damn voting makes the story untrue, guys. Wouldn't you want to know the extent of this? Edit 2, you guys are right. Let's forget all the complications in post-op psychology. That's why they'll magically disappear, right? Let's keep pushing this new trend for people to get elective surgeries to cut off their dicks. Good luck on your surgeries. Man with 2 first names says, the fact that people play pretend with grown adults is absurd. It absolutely is. But what's even more absurd is that there's people who know that it's wrong that won't speak up about it. They're too scared. They're too cowardly. They don't want to rock the boat or shake things up. But, the only thing that evil needs to triumph is for good men to do nothing. And this is in front of you and you're allowing it to occur? Sorry, not my bag, baby. Certainly not on my watch. Let's look at this article here. Not being attracted to trans people is deeply transphobic. So, a good response from this gentleman here says, hey, lesbians, refusing to sleep with your straight guys is deeply heterophobic. Bring your girlfriend too. Monogamous relationships are a patriarchal Western ideal anyway. This is the type of bullshit that they're trying to brainwash people into. You can choose whoever the fuck you want to be with. And if somebody doesn't want to be with a psycho who committed self-mutilation and thinks there's something they're not, it's fully within their right to do so. But to try to, again, be a fucking commie Marxist and claim, oh, well, you're a phobe, homophobe, transphobe, whatever. That's Marxist talk. That's commie talk. That's how they control language. Language is warfare. If you don't understand that, then you really need to read up on some Marx. So let's get to this image here. And again, Skype lines are open, but I'm going to have to start to think that it's quite possible that no one has the guts to fucking call in. Despite the fact that our lines are open, and I know that you're watching. I've seen all the numbers. And the White House is basically making this for immediate release, which was actually today. So statement from Secretary Barrera on the FDA approved of additional Bavarian Nordic monkeypox vaccine. Today, the FDA announced that it has approved a supplement to the biologics license for this Jynneos vaccine, which is manufactured by Bavarian Nordic and approved to prevent smallpox and monkeypox. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Xavier Becerra issued the following statement. This action by the FDA is a critical step forward in our plans to strengthen and accelerate our monkeypox response. Well, it doesn't look like it's that bad, but I wonder if you've got money invested in the stocks, which includes distributing a safe and effective vaccine to those at highest risk of exposure of monkeypox. The gays? The expedited inspection and approval by FDA of Bavarian Nordic's fill and finish capabilities means that an additional 786,000 doses of the vaccine are now available for use in the U.S. That was quick. Maybe you got, I don't know, call through the grapevine letting you know that you have to step up production. HHS says is working to make these doses available to states and jurisdictions as soon as possible to fulfill their needs and will announce allocations tomorrow. So that's tomorrow, the 28th, Thursday. Aggressively responding to the monkeypox outbreak is critical priority for the HHS. Within days of the first U.S. case, we activated a multi-pronged response. That's interesting. You must have been prepared just like FEMA was on 9/11. Significantly increasing vaccine supply and distribution, expanding access to tents. That's a lot of logistics already planned out. And I'm good with my logistics. Making treatments available for free. And that's a lot of money going to the coming from the taxpayer. And educating the public on steps to reduce risk of infection, like staying away from the gays, or not being gay and going to a glory hole, maybe, or orgies, or Belgium, or France, or Spain, or those raves, as you call them, Drew. We will continue to accelerate and strengthen a response in the coming days, and will work with partners on the ground and in the community and internationally to combat that virus and protect those at risk. Again, those at risk. It seems to me that you're indicating that there's a certain group that you're not willing to identify that's at a higher risk than others. Care to elaborate? Thank you. I applaud the entire FDA team for their tireless work in making this additional vaccine available as quickly as possible while ensuring it meets the highest standards of quality and safety. Very similar to Operation Warp Speed, where all these vaccines were prepared within months, when we know that's not possible, unless they already knew about it and had them prepped, which we know they did because many countries received a COVID vaccine in 2019. Yeah. Okay. So, let's continue here. I think I have another graphic or two to show. I might have shown them all, but not necessarily surprised that nobody called in. It is a controversial topic, but then again, there are people that have supposedly spoken out about this in the past and yet now aren't willing to do so. I think it speaks a lot about their character, or lack thereof. But let's continue to listen to this a little bit further here. There's just a little bit, like probably about 6 minutes more at most. Skype lines will remain open, though I suspect nobody is going to call in because either they're hate watchers or, they're scared. I don't know. Again, nobody's even talking in the chat as to why you're not responding, although we can see you're watching. So, you'll have to explain your actions.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Tex, is I'm not sitting here trying to pick on gay people or anything like that, but if that truly is an issue that needs to be addressed, if let's just call it what it is. If butt sex is what's causing the spread of this, as the New York Health Department is trying to allude to, if that's what is being alluded to by saying that the origins of this are from Spain and Belgium, then why is it that the CDC does not have this on the top line saying, beware, butt sex may cause this?
But they have. I've shown that.
Maybe a high concern of this.
Because if they come out and say it, then they're the bigot. But if they present you with all the information and you say it, you're the problem.
No, but the information was out there. They were actually warning about this prior to the WHO, and then as soon as the WHO said it, they're like, "Yep." Well, actually, not only as soon as the WHO said it, but like the stock prices went up, and they announced that they were moving forward with purchasing these vaccines. Is that hard to understand?
That's all this is.
Casey, what do you think?
What?
Rose, what do you think?
All right, so I saw a tweet. I want to say it was Friday night. Somebody saying that this whole monkeypox thing and pointing out the gay people and how they're transmitting it is going to be basically like the new Asian hate thing over the whole fucking COVID deal. I hope it doesn't come down to that. But one thing I want to say is,
Oh, so in both cases, the blacks are going to be perpetuating the crimes? That's another thing that nobody seems to want to talk about. All these assaults on mostly Chinese, but, Orientals, as they should be called, or East Asians, which is the politically correct term. But mostly Chinese people have been assaulted by basically 99% black people. 98. There have been a few Latinos and stuff, but all that Asian hate crime that you're seeing ain't coming from the whites.
over the past few weeks, when I turn on my TV and I turn on the news so I can hear what the weather report is, because, the Weather Channel only talks about weather for 12 hours a day now, and it usually doesn't talk about weather for my area. So when I turn on the Channel 7 news and I want to hear what my weather is, I don't want to turn the channel on to hear about how two guys are butt fucking.
I mean, but if that's what's doing it. By the way, J-Man in the chat says, well, now that Casey's mom is satisfied, I can head back to the truck and back to where I am delivering. Good night, everyone.
I just don't think this is really a big deal. As big of a deal as what the CDC and the World Health Organization and the news media is trying to make it out to be, especially when there's already vaccines that are already out here to help stop the spread of it. But my mom asked me the other night, she goes, I don't understand this monkeypox shit. She goes, how exactly is it spreading? I said, well, you don't have to worry about catching it. I said, you don't get fucked in the ass.
Okay,
She just starts laughing.
Oh, he knows what he's talking about.
I
Look at
got
it this
that.
way.
Dee here.
Go back to when they were talking about COVID. How often did they say it has very similar symptoms to AIDS? Okay, what else was AIDS attached to the gays and the AIDS? And that
Right,
very
Yeah,
and-
that's another good point, is that now you have what's called VAIDS, virus, autoimmune deficiency disorder. So you're seeing that actually coming from the jab.
I find it funny too, and I find it funny too how they're calling this. Well, they're saying it's not an STD, but yet they're literally describing it as one.
Yeah, because they're trying to push a narrative.
Well, I mean, to a degree. They do mention here in this deal that the scabs, the fluids from the scabs, the
I don't
rashes,
even hear that on my news TV. On Channel 7 News, whenever they talk about the new cases of monkeypox and how it's spreading, they specifically only say that it is spreading by skin-to-skin contact between gay men.
Of course.
But
Yeah,
that
I say you
doesn't
get rid
make
of all
sense.
those dirty monkeys.
It does make sense. Look at their lifestyle, Drew. Look at the lifestyle. Look at the statistics, Drew.
Gay men. So does your body know if you're gay or not? Like,
It knows when you're exposed to multiple, anonymous partners having unprotected sex. It certainly does that. And guess what? Who has the most of that? The gays. Again, this is the virtue signaling bullshit that I won't fucking stand for. From anybody. Simple as that. From anybody.
okay, if Tex and I just meet each other and we give each other a pat on the back.
Do you frequent glory holes there, Drew, or you give a bunch of hugs to fucking homosexuals that frequent orgies on weekends? You don't? Well, then you and Tex, straight shooter, certainly won't get monkeypox. This logic is skewed.
Back or something. No. But I'm saying
Where you going with that, sir?
Let me finish. If we're two straight men and say you and I,
Again, what kind of lifestyle do you have? He's a, single, single father, busy with his, time and stuff. May get some action, I guess, once in a while. I don't know. I'd prefer not to, but again, I certainly know he's not hanging around fucking glory holes and stuff. And Drew, you got a wife and kids, so obviously that's you don't live that lifestyle. How difficult is this to fucking understand? Seriously, how difficult is this to fucking understand?
walk up and you happen to have monkeypox and it's all over your hand, and I shake your hand. Am I okay because my body knows that I'm straight? That's not how it works.
How it works is that if you spend the weekend fucking 50 people anonymously, all unprotected at some bathhouse or some fucking orgy, your chance at all these STDs is much higher than being a married man with a child. Is this so fucking difficult to fucking understand? What the fuck is it with all this fucking virtue signaling? Oh, well, I love the gays. I love the gays. Okay, fine, but are you going to fucking ignore this shit? Like, stop virtue signaling. You, Joe, and all these other people. Fucking stop it. Stop it. Because again, can you fucking come up against me with facts? Probably not. And if you want to come up with your feelings, go fuck yourself. Okay, I don't give a fuck about your feelings. The facts are what matter. Stop with this virtue signaling bullshit. If you bother to do the fucking simple research, any of you motherfuckers, bother to simply just go into the CDC fucking database and look it up. The WHO database and look it up. Oh, you don't like to read? Suck my fucking dick. Don't argue with me if you're too stupid to do the effort to research. You have two options. Either meet me on the same fucking plane, do the necessary amount of research so that we both have the same information or the same level of knowledge to be able to debate properly, or shut your fucking mouth and accept reality for what it is because you clearly are incapable of doing so. Let's continue. Oh, before we do, it's the man with two first names says, I'm gay. But it's not something I'd ever push onto anybody else, especially as a life choice. See, I don't have a problem with man with two first names. And I knew that as well. And the thing is, though, I've got a friend who he's gay, he's Jewish, he's like Zionist Jewish. And I'm not really big on Zionism, to be quite honest. But he's hardcore pro-Jewish, and he was the hugest fan of fucking George Bush Jr., and I remember having conversations with the guy. He's just like, dude, this is George Bush Jr. He's like, I don't care, man. He helps Israel, and and he was the guy. He was one of them, but he was the guy I talked about in the past where he's like, we have our rights. We don't need a parade. And yeah, nice little simple parade. That's cute. But all this crap of, being naked in front of kids and pushing this shit. And then on top of that, the grooming and the fucking drag queen story hours and all that stuff. That's not cool. So, yeah, you find people that are actually considered conservative and stuff to the point where I'm like, dude, you're gay and you like George Bush Jr. How the fuck? And he's like, oh, because he was great to Israel. I'm like, well, I can't argue that. I mean, he was. But the whole pushing thing. But you don't really see that with, and you know what? I've got to agree with what are called TERFs, trans exclusionary radical feminists, and they rightfully said, hold on, we're lesbians, we like women, that's it. We don't want this person who was a man once and now mutilated themselves coming into our bathroom, because that's not what we're interested in. We want, women. And, you've seen a lot of these trans people basically saying that lesbians are transphobe. Just like that graphic I showed earlier. It's like, oh, well, if you're not attracted to a trans woman, then you must be a transphobe. It's like, well, hold on. If there's a trans woman and they want to get with a woman, a lesbian, and the lesbian's like, no, I don't like you, I'm not attracted, I like real women, i.e. biological women. And they're going to call the lesbian a transphobe? Of course you're going to make them radical feminists, trans exclusionary radical feminists. And, well, they've also witnessed the fact that you had little girls that would go into the bathroom and these people, pre-op, would go in and start to abuse little girls and stuff, or little boys, whatever. But it's just there's a big difference, I think. And, you don't have gay men and women cutting off body parts. They accept themselves for who they are, and that's it. And they don't, and there are those that don't push it on anybody. They just want to live. They're basically like fucking conservatives. I want to live my life in peace. leave me the fuck alone. I'll pay my taxes. I'll fucking follow the law. Just leave me alone. And that's basically anyone of normal mental capacity. But then there are those that just want to push for you to accept their lifestyle, regardless if you disagree or not. Because you can still disagree with someone's lifestyle and say, you know what, I don't want you to die. I don't want you to face any harm. I would love if, you would get some help. And, hey, maybe you don't agree with me on that. But, I certainly don't want to, cause you harm sort of thing. But, it's something that I've had to debate for years. Because it just, for some people, because they're so extremist, they don't get it. They just think, oh, well, if you don't agree with one thing, you must just want me to die. It's like, no, that's not even the case. It's the same with politics. Like, oh, well, you don't agree with my political stance, that you must be like a Trump lover and you want me to die in a camp. It's like, no, certainly not. And also, to call me a Trump lover would be over the top. Did I support some things with Trump? Yes, but I called him out on quite a lot of shit. And, well, that's on the record. But let's get back to the crux of it here. I'd love to hear from Man with Two First Names if he would be willing to call in. But what does he say here? Damn straight. I hate when LGBT name. I don't like being thrown in with the T or any of them for that matter. I'll vote for Trump again when he runs. Well, he was the first president ever to actually hug a gay flag, and it actually did upset a lot of people in his base. But he was the only one to do that. In fact, Barack Obama, who is gay, and we know this, he opposed gay marriage. Yet the first time that Trump was asked about gay marriage, and I think this was in possibly 96. It's like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, let him get married. Don't care. So, yeah, there's a big difference between Obama and Trump in that matter. But, yeah, the big issue here is the trans thing, in my opinion, and why it's not being addressed. Why do people have to tiptoe around it when everyone sees it for what it is?
If it's a man and a woman, if it's two women, it doesn't matter. If you touch the rash, you're susceptible. You're potentially going to get it. I was just going to say, it's not in your DNA to go, oh, he's gay, so he gets it. Oh,
no, but it's lifestyle as well. It's like, and there's gay people that recognize this too. It's that, yeah, you can go to a fucking orgy, 3-day orgy and stuff, but yeah, you can potentially get infected. And there was actually, I think about a couple of years ago, there's a lot of articles from gay guys coming out saying, I don't care about AIDS. I'm just going to fuck raw anyways. I don't care. And that's just like the scariest fucking thought that these people are willing to, because there are a few people, not a few, but there's a number in the population that obviously fakes being straight. So they'll attend these parties and stuff, but they'll get infected. They'll take it home to their wife. They'll get her infected. And hey, if he gets her pregnant, the kid gets infected. So, this is a big way of how the AIDS epidemic spread to straight people, is that you had people either who were in jail, for example, that were infected and then, got released and then fucked their woman, but then spread that. Or you had these men that were attending parties, orgies, and, because they were living in the closet and so forth, they, wouldn't tell their wife. And obviously, they convinced them, I guess they were straight enough that they would have sex, and then that woman would get HIV or AIDS. So, that's the biggest way that it spread. The biggest, not the only way, because let's be honest. I talked about this earlier. The CIA set up syphilis injection sites as well as polio sites, injected a big portion of not just gays, but black people. And that's how they got the AIDS epidemic started. It wasn't anybody fucking a monkey. Basically, AIDS is weaponized. And it is actually separate from HIV. So that is a truth. You can find the documents, because I sure can. And you can prove it, that they purposely targeted the black and gay communities for extermination. Simple fact. You can look back to Margaret Sanger, who purposely proposed eugenics. We know this. It's on the record. And, well, from that point onwards, basically from the mid-1910s onwards, eugenics was certainly on the plan. I mean, the Tuskegee experiment, where they injected all these black men with syphilis, who then in turn didn't know it and then spread it to their wives and then their kids and so forth. So, anyone who thinks that the government's there to save them, I've got a bridge to sell them in New York. So, we got Man with Two First Names. Ooh, that's terrifying. I always wear a condom. Always, always. I think this is my fave series you do. That's they're all bangers so far. Well, thank you so much. I am doing it solo today just because I have lost a co-host. But again, a topic like this, because we know what we've been through for the last 2 years. Totally planned, emic. You know what I'm saying? And this was already in the fucking, this was already like in the chamber. This was ready to go off because I talked about this 2 years ago, not just from fucking this shit, from the koof, but, you know, why are they buying all these fucking monkeypox vaccines? We're just watching the game play out. And anyone who's paid attention is fucking, you know, very concerned like I am, because it's just like there's so many people out there that aren't aware. Now, I wish I could show this to you. I don't have the video, Man with Two First Names, but I may have tweeted it. Let me see if I can find it. But okay, so I'll explain it. This was in New York City, and it was a lineup for one of the monkeypox vaccine centers that they set up, I guess within the last week or so. And, well, there's a person who films as they walk by, and, you know, they're using their phone or something, and they're recording the entire lineup, right? They're like, what do you notice about this? And if you watch the video, you'll see that basically it's all gay guys. It's all gay guys that are lined up for this. Now, again, if this goes back to the whole eugenics plan, Man with Two First Names, does this not make sense? Are they not trying to convince a certain populace to accept a certain vaccination based on a potential threat that might come to them? But just like with the HIV epidemic and the AIDS epidemic, you know, you've got a lot of, and this is a big reason why a lot of these gay guys are saying, I'm not wearing condoms and shit. I'll get infected because I don't care, because the drugs will keep me alive. Well, yeah, now the drugs will keep you alive. And who's making money from selling you those drugs? The pharmaceutical companies. So it's a very nihilistic view of things coming from them, where it's just like, yeah, I can get infected with all these STDs and maybe even something that's life-threatening. But now we live in a time where HIV and AIDS isn't terminal. I can live through it. I'll still have it. I'll still spread it. But at least I'll be, you know, my insurance will cover the costs and stuff. So basically, this is just enriching these pharmaceutical companies by, you know, allowing people to stay alive. Not stay healthy, but to stay alive. And we see that with cancer. We see that with multiple sclerosis. Basically, every single disease that exists under the sun has been curable, at least for the last 50 years. And I'm telling you that from straight fact. You can believe it. You don't have to believe it. I really don't give a flying fuck. I can show you the evidence, but then again, and I might have to play it tonight. AEW, by the way, starts at 9 p.m. So we got a few hours. And again, I never really define how long I go. I should, but I'm sorry, passion overrides that. Not emotion, passion. Passion for the truth, to preach, to be righteous. Because God loves the righteous. So in regards to this monkeypox thing, it had to be called out. And I would have loved to have somebody else to give me their opinions on it, but it had to be called out. I'm obviously not making any money from this, but I just think it's important that everyone need to know this. Not only has this been in the pipeline for quite some time, you got to know that there are it's not a total hoax in the sense that there's still going to be things that they're going to be doing to try to convince people to actually get this shit. Well, the pinchy. And that's where the big problem comes in. That's where they're going to get you hooked to whatever, because as your health starts to deteriorate, maybe they're going to say, just like with the koof, they're going to want you to take multiple boosters and more boosters and more, and eventually your immune system just degenerates. This is what I am very concerned with for anybody that's taken this stuff, or any of this stuff, because again, this is really, in my belief, covering the effects of the coof jab. Because again, VADES, as Tex was saying in the clip, that's prevalent now, and all these other infections that certainly shouldn't be showing up with any sort of vaccine whatsoever, unless they're weaponized. And gain of function is increased. Gain of function means to increase the severity of that virus/vaccine. The Goon in the chat says, if those in power did good by their people, we would have populated other planets and resolved overpopulation without having to report to these extreme pandemic measures. Yes. And it probably would have been quite easy if free energy had been allowed. But it's much more, well, it's multi-staged, Goon. We are in a spiritual war. You have basically demonic entities that exist, and they exist around us. We don't always see them. And they siphon off negative energy. That's why you always need conflict. That's why there needs to be a never-ending war. Orwell talked about it perfectly. You need this so that there's constant fear. And, what we've seen over the last 2 years has been, a total psychological operation utilizing fear. And this is what they need to stir up the emotions that they use as psychic vampires to feed off the population, and then, fund their powers and their spells. And they want, well, technically this is a prison planet. I guess we'll have to talk about this on another show, a more conspiracy-based show, but this is a prison planet. We are being kept here against our will, using various multiple ways. And we could easily, if these systems weren't in place, we would be colonizing the stars. But there are several systems in place right now that are preventing that from occurring, and both aliens that reside on and in this planet but are not human, as well as extraterrestrials that come from external bodies out there in space, are involved in this. Might sound odd, but guess what? You might have said the same thing about my predictions in 2019 when this stuff started appearing there in November in Wuhan. But then again, it's 2022 now. And who is correct? This guy. So, let's just finish off here with the final portions, I believe. I think it's just 2 minutes now of because I wanted to hear what Tex was saying.
He's stuck.
And again, lines are open if anyone wants to call in.
His dick. So if you fuck a straight man in the ass, do you get to, still not get it? I
was just gonna say something like that.
Hold on,
so if you fuck a straight man in the ass, do you get to, still not get it?
Well, again, if that other straight man wasn't attending these orgies, good chance you won't.
I was just gonna say something like that. I was gonna say, how does the monkeypox know whether or not that what's being fucked in the ass is a man or a woman?
I don't know, but
it.
Whatever, Casey.
That's such a childish way of putting it. It's like, how does the virus know? You know that it doesn't know.
It has on its head must be monkeypox.
The fuck is it knows whenever it reaches around up front.
Come on, if you pull into a trucker stop and you see this methed out whore who just says she's 26, and maybe she is, but looks like she's 72, and is offering you all, these things and stuff, and she smells putrid, and you decide to go with that? I mean, like, come on, man. You're going to a trucker stop, and it's a fucking lot lizard. You're really going to, oh, how did that happen? How did I get the fucking syphilis?
It feels if it's something's dangling or not, Rose. That's how you traditionally find out. But that's a whole different matter.
It's an ice pack, Dee.
TSS, I think it would too. I believe it was who also asked you what the fuck that was on your head too, Casey.
Yeah, you look like a fat genie.
I mean, he did get bashed in the head with a frying pan a few times, Deity.
Wow.
I don't know if you missed. You clearly missed that part.
The crazy part is it had no impact on his mental his mental fucking capacity.
Right.
Oh, I know. I don't see this monkeypox thing being a fucking big deal. I'm certainly not fucking concerned about it, and I just don't want to hear about two men butt fucking every goddamn day I turn on my TV. That's all I know.
Abel Sales Jr. shares some very interesting words here in the chat. Quote from George Orwell: "In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act."
Okay, so why don't you then say trans is bad, Drew? Or trans is a mental illness. You willing to do that? You willing to be revolutionary?
Absolutely.
This is just another way. What's that?
I said that quote sounds gayer than monkeypox.
Oh.
No, George
not a bad
Orwell
line.
was a very smart man. He knew exactly what. Just go read 1984. You'll figure shit out for yourself. This is just another thing to break down society.
There we go.
This is how conspiracy theories get started right here, because they present you with all the evidence.
No, they start when somebody confirms a shipment in 2019 for monkeypox at the rate of 1 million doses sold to Canada. That's how you kind of detect that stuff.
You follow the logical into it, and then they call you crazy, even though they said the same thing. So this is all this is. This won't be a big deal medically, but it will be huge in the culture, in the society. That's where it's going to have its biggest effect. Just like the pandemic we just came out of, that was all engineered.
Do you guys remember when they were talking about conspiracy, how the Harvey Weinstein, there's no island. Why are you saying that? That's crazy. There's no little girls or underage girls going to a secret island for rich people. That's crazy. You're a conspiracy nut. Right. And what the fuck happened? There was an island. There was underage girls. There was crazy shit going on.
Or just like in the
At what point does this
Ghislaine Maxwell case?
Fact. Yeah. What I would know.
At one point, what? Say that again, Deity. At what point? What?
At what point does it stop being a conspiracy and it becomes a fact?
When the government wants to finally start telling the truth.
Well, they'll lie blatantly to your face, or they'll tell you something completely asinine, and people will just turn a blind eye to it. Remember when Joe Biden said he was giving $750,000 to any illegal alien that came over the border? And
all right, well, we're done with the trans talk. I don't know. Should I continue? I could talk about a few other things. But we've been going on for about an hour 45. Could probably round it out to 2 hours. Again, nobody's calling in. Very strange. We had quite a few people watching at one point, but who knows? Maybe the subject was a little too difficult for them to stomach. I find it comical because many people did say they wanted hard right and they wanted to call in and be a part of it, and granted the start time was a little earlier than I've usually done it, but there were people around that wanted something to watch. I thought, why not go with a little hard right, something I hadn't done in a bit. And, something I certainly like to discuss. there's many subjects that I have that I had planned, but probably still go through them. Just that now I'm solo. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that can be talked about. One thing I'd love to talk about, and I'm sure that'll be also quite controversial, is race and crime. And again, that's something that, why do so few people have the guts to discuss it? All we're doing is really reading statistics and using critical thinking and pattern recognition. Is that so difficult to do, or is that something that you're scared of? Because to be quite honest, I think that the majority of people are just cowards, unfortunately. Nobody really has the guts to call things out. And it's a generalized statement. I'm not saying everybody. But, again, those that are quite visible in certain areas are silent in others. And when confronted on these sort of situations, they want to deflect, or they just don't want to discuss it at all. Certainly cognitive dissonance, where something is just so beyond their comprehension and out of their safe space that it just rocks their world, and they can't handle it. But again, prove me wrong. That's what I'm saying. Is prove me wrong. Can anyone prove me wrong? Can anyone either provide statistics that show that I'm incorrect? Can anyone argue this using logic and proper discourse? Is anyone willing to even admit that they doubt the narrative, or is it just that people are scared? Because I can't really comprehend it, and that's why I'm more than willing to accept suggestions there in the chat. But can you maybe suggest why somebody wouldn't want to talk about this? I mean, after all the information, I mean, yeah, one excuse could be just being disingenuous because you don't want to show the world that, close to 80% of, pedophiles are homosexuals, but, or say, for example, that 40% of transsexuals commit suicide, mostly post-op. That we don't want to address that, all these criminal acts by people who claim to be trans on little kids. Or we have that in Canada where there's this one person who said they transitioned but really didn't, and demanded that a spa waxed their balls. And, they provided Brazilian wax for women, and if you understand how Brazilian wax works, you understand that certainly it's not the same way to apply it to a man. You got to know how to handle those balls, because if not, you could probably do some very serious damage. Perhaps the man with two first names in the chat could comment on that. I don't know if you handle your grooming to such an extent, but certainly you need somebody who knows how to handle the male package. To be able to do it right. And this person said, well, we can't do it. You're not a woman. Oh, how dare you? And then they try to sue them and all that. And this person went psycho and assaulted multiple journalists. And they're crazy. Very much like Chris Chan. Chris Chan also is one of these individuals that went off the deep end and ended up mutilating themselves. But they were already crazy as it was. And eventually, apparently, he forced incest on his mother and raped her. And last I heard, he was under arrest. Ugh, fucking disgusting. But, I don't know. I mean, not any interaction very much there in the chat. And I appreciate those that did choose to join us. I could go for quite some time, but I'm not too sure if anyone wants me to. Maybe they've got other things to do, other shows to watch. But I could certainly keep going. There's a ton of stuff that I could discuss. But it is always nice to actually have someone that can interact with you and give you their thoughts on the matter. Oh, there we go. We've got Latino Heat. So Latino Heat, we get in him here. I'm just going to show this statistic for you guys to see. So go ahead, Latino Heat.
What's up, man? What's going on?
Well, I was, again, trying to push the boundaries, get people out of their safe spaces and their comfort zones, trying to have them, address issues or at least look at things, because this community is way too soft. Too many people walking on eggshells, trying to be nice and worried about how they'll be perceived, rather than the fact that, evil triumphs when good men do nothing.
I am one that could give a fuck about how I'm perceived, because the only opinions that matter to me are the ones I actually care about. So everybody else can go fuck themselves how they feel about me. But I wanted to let you know something that I found very interesting. My mother, when she came back from Las Vegas recently, according to the hospital, because she had to go into the hospital for, I believe it was walking pneumonia originally and bronchitis, they went and said, oh, by the way, because they test you when you go in for COVID. Oh, by the way, you have COVID. Funny shit is, I was around her for the 3 days before she went into the hospital, before we decided to take her in. And I was caring for her. No mask, nothing. I didn't get fucking COVID. My dad didn't get COVID. My sister didn't get COVID. And we were around her.
If you did, it was asymptomatic, and that means you've got your antibodies, so you don't need any other crap.
Oh, no. Got tested.
Well,
Twice
those tests,
in the
tests
time
are like 80% false anyways, dude. They're made in China and purposely made. Well, they were infected. Some of them were. Other ones were just made to give a false positive. This is already acknowledged by the CDC. They stopped using that shit.
That's what I'm saying. The testing showed negative as far as COVID exposure, that I didn't have it and that they don't have it. So it made me wonder, are these fucking hospitals still doing this shit where anybody that's hospitalized, they fucking go ahead and still say they have COVID so they can get some kind of bonus money? Because I thought that shit ended last September, that they were no longer giving hospitals federal money for every case that came in that they designated as COVID. But apparently that's still going on, unbeknownst to all of us.
Yep, they're still getting funded.
I just find it really odd that I was the one that was, because I used to be a certified nurse at home health aide that was, taking care of my mom, and I didn't get shit. And I don't have the fucking vaccine. I didn't get one fucking shot. I didn't get it. So she must not have it. Or if she did, I must be like a fucking Superman, because they say that you get it and you can pass it, but again, testing showed negative.
It's more likely if you've already got the jab to pass it on than if you don't. The CDC's come out and already admitted it.
Yeah, you're more likely to get it when you get the vaccine, yeah, than you are when you don't. That's
and
the shit.
Not just get it, but spread it.
And spread it, yeah. Yeah, and not only that, but ruin your immune system on top of all of that. So this way you're susceptible to all kinds of other shit. Like the stuff that's coming over to the border from these fucking illegals. Well, let's see, measles and fucking polio and shit that we shouldn't be having issues with in this country if they were not fucking allowing these bastards to come over. And yeah, I find that very funny. And if you notice too, I have this theory, and I'm pretty sure I'm fucking correct, that the reason why they're shipping these illegals to different states, especially Republican states, is so that they can spread fucking COVID and who knows what. So that when November rolls around, oh look, there's been a spike in hospitalizations for COVID. Guess what? Mail in. No voting in person, mail in. So they can steal the fucking November elections. I truly believe that that's their fucking end game. That come November, besides the whole, in September, they're going to do the continuation to the fucking January 6th bullshit trial thing they're doing. to try to keep it fresh in people's memories so they don't vote for Trump or whoever. I think that's another thing, that they're going to look to use an excuse for a minute number of cases that might actually spike to go ahead and say, no, you can't go vote in person. Because that's how they stole the fucking 2020 election. I don't give a fuck what anybody says because of the mail-in ballot shit. So let's hope that that does not happen, but I have a feeling they're going to pull out. But yeah, and as far as what you're saying here with the transsexual shit and stuff, they just recently had some sort of operation that was going on to capture or to arrest groomers, quote unquote groomers, and they said they got 181 at one time. 181 groomers.
I'm sure.
So apparently there's police departments or whatever that are going after these people that are trying to get these little kids to fucking, you know, so they can molest them and shit or do other things with them. So apparently there are, thank God, some good police departments out there that are, you know, doing that shit. They have task force. But 181 at one time, that's amazing. That's fucking insane.
And there's constantly these raids that are finding them. But here's
and it's online. A lot of this shit's online. They're not even trying to fucking like do it on a sneak. They're doing it outright online, trying to get these kids to recruit them and fucking and mess with them.
Yep.
And it's crazy.
Now there's this graphic I'm putting up right here, which it's kind of comical. The commissioner Ashwin Vasan, MD, PhD, New York City Health Commissioner, says, we're calling on the WHO to act immediately to rename the monkeypox virus. We have a growing concern for the potentially stigmatizing effects that the messaging around the monkeypox virus can have on vulnerable communities. Read our letter. Is this him just admitting that blacks will be more susceptible to this weaponized monkeypox? Is that what he's saying? Because it sounds like that's what he's saying.
That's fucking hilarious. I'm surprised they didn't say that we find that it might be offensive to monkeys. Because everybody's fucking feeling.
I mean, it just seems to me like he's sort of predicating what's going to happen, what communities are going to be targeted.
Because black people have been called monkeys in the past.
No. What he's saying is basically, oh, well, there's going to be a massive increase. He's not saying this, but he's saying this. There's going to be a massive increase in infections of monkeypox amongst the black population. So, you know, rather than, you know, do it normally, we'd be like, oh, well, we're getting a lot of fucking racism now. It's just like, oh, no, we got to do this before we actually institute the mass vaccination of black people and then give them the monkeypox. That's basically what he's saying. This is how they operate.
I wouldn't doubt that they do that shit, because remember that one, the Tuskegee, whatever fucking
Tuskegee
experiment
I talked about it earlier, giving syphilis to all these black people. Not telling them, and then they infected their wives.
I wouldn't doubt they would pull out, but not just blacks, even the Hispanics. Just the low income.
It was mostly blacks.
They're gonna fucking. No, but I'm talking about this time around with the monkeypox.
They'll try to get anyone these days.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past that as far as the low income people or low educated, that they're going to be like, listen, you need this because you got to protect yourselves from this shit, and that they will be actually infected. So they can go ahead and say, well, look, it's heterosexuals that are getting it too. So you can't say it's just a gay thing. You can't just say that it's a gay man-on-man sex, so that's fucking transmitting it.
Well, they're trying to push that, but obviously, you know, it's understood.
Well, that's the best way to do it. Is to get heterosexuals infected with it.
Yeah, but
that's the best way to do it.
The easiest way is to get the gay population infected. They're promiscuous already, and it helped, you know, infecting all the gay people in the 70s with these syphilis and, you know, smallpox pop-up vaccination places. That's where they infected the populace with AIDS.
Why can't people just stick to goats and fucking sheep?
Because that'll probably still give you some sort of fucking infection. But then again, it doesn't stop the Afghanis or the Pakistanis. Seems to be a big thing there in the fucking Middle East. Donkeys. Shout out to Butterfly in the chat. Well, this has been a very controversial episode. I don't know if you would get offended from it, but I wouldn't doubt that you would. Like many, I'm sure.
It's just a shame that those people that went and got those quote-unquote elective surgeries to go from man to female, female to male, whatever, that there's a lot of stories out there of them regretting it, and the news and the media just fucking does not want to report on it. Because there's a lot of people, a lot of stories out there, and they won't fucking, because it goes against the narrative. They want the narrative to be that people are very much into it, they're very much for it. It's a great thing. It's liberating or whatever the fuck, but more often than not, you're here, if you know where to look, that the cases are not that the people regret it and they wish they could go back. Like females that went to male and cut off their breasts, and then they come to regret that shit. And you cut off your breast, fuck. That trauma on itself.
Well, actually, I saw a tweet earlier today of somebody doing a TED Talk or something, a similar TED Talk, saying, oh, well, it's fine if a 6-year-old cuts, or 8-year-old or 10-year-old, 12-year-old cuts off her breast now. She could always, get them later. As if in, the trauma that you would face from self-mutilation during the point of puberty where, you are obviously jumbled up, that is perfectly going to be, countered by saying, hey, well, that trauma that you faced as a child, not even knowing what you were, you can easily just fix that by buying fake tits. Remember, they're not real. You can't grow those things back. But, you can get fake tits. So that obviously is perfectly fine.
It's women that have to get double mastectomies.
It's satanic. Okay? And if people understand this, Baphomet, and maybe I'm going to have to pull up the picture, but Baphomet is an androgynous analog, if you want to call it that, to the demiurge, or the demiurge, I should say. Basically, ultimate evil. Some people will call it Satan, the devil, whatever. Basically, goat's legs, penis, tits, goat's head, horns. That's what it is. So I can show you a photo, but keep talking.
There's also a report that I was watching on television in which they were talking about having school nurses dole out those suppressants, the hormone suppressants. I forget what they call them. I might be correct saying it that way. To kids, that they would want the school nurses to give these pills to the kids on a daily basis, so that if they don't want to...
Hormone blockers, that's what they're called.
Hormone blockers, that's it, yeah. That they want to fucking have that be something that's in the budget for the schools, so that the nurses can give out those fucking medications to suppress the hormones of these kids. And if these motherfuckers start doing that shit, wow.
Now, I wanted to just bring everyone's attention to this here in the chat. This is the timeline that actually was created to sort of follow by the World Health Organization about this monkeypox attack. So they actually developed this before the announcement of the monkeypox and such, and this is how they always work. This is how I think it was Lockstep 201. Yeah, well, everything is falling exactly into line with what they're talking about. I mean, already it's matched up with what they've set up.
They're trying to make it like it's COVID.
Well, again, just like with COVID, they did have a sort of timeline that was set up. Okay, we're gonna, because it was the simulation that they made. 201. I can't remember if somebody can remind me what the full name of it was, but Bill Gates was involved, many others. But they basically simulated the COVID thing and then went through the plans and stuff, and then a year later it basically was exactly that. Very similar to all the simulations that they've run either during 9/11 or during the 7/7 bombing or many of these other strange coincidences where, we're just running a simulation exactly the same day, coincidentally, as the actual thing going on. So this simulation is already in play, and things were already sort of lining up with what they've predicted at the timeline that they've wanted. And obviously this is something that they want to do. So, this is not spreading naturally. This is actually purposely being spread.
Yeah. Look what Bill Gates did with that organization that he set up in Africa where they were supposed to be doing some kind of...
I think you're talking about India, but regardless he got kicked out of India, poisoned a ton of people through vaccines, and he knew they were faulty, and his society provided them. But if you look into it, initially it was called the Society for Population Control. Again, all you got to do is just look into the past. If you are one of these types of faggots that say, I've only been around for a year, so anything that happened prior doesn't matter, well, then go ahead and kill yourself. But the fact is, if you really want to understand how the world works, you just can't keep yourself, I should say, looking at short-term situations. You got to go back. You got to read. You don't like reading? Well, step aside for the real men.
Well, there's been many, I don't know if you call them manifestos, but many things by wacko far-left people in which they are very much for population control. And even when it comes to just outright killing people, culling a certain sector of the population to, keep a number that they say is manageable for the resources that are available. They're very much into that shit. And one good example, if any of you have not seen it, even though it's kind of a shitty movie, but the premise is good, is a movie called The Thinning, in which they make kids take a test every year until the senior year, in which the 5 percentile of the world's population, if they fail this test, they are executed. And that's how they figured to control the population of the world for the resources that are available. I could see shit like that happening. If this becomes a one world order type situation, like they're trying to push for, I could see shit like that happening.
Now, if you take a look at the image that's being shown, we have Barack Obama there in Hawaii with his lover at the time called Michael LaVaughn Robinson. That's
So he's bi, or he's just gay and pretending to be...
Okay, what's...
hetero.
Michelle, right? Michelle Obama?
That's who that is?
Michael LaVaughn Robinson actually is a man. Remember...
That transitioned to a woman? Oh my God.
No, didn't even fucking cut it off. Again, what was her name? Joan Rivers? She basically called it out, and she got killed for it. Everyone knew about this from the get-go, even prior. But, and we've seen a lot of this with so many people, and this is, again, the satanic Baphomet style, is that they're trying to join with partners that are androgynous, I guess, that share both. That's why the trans thing is being pushed so much, because you've got people with tits, but still with a dick, right? This is satanic. So, but look at the guy in the middle there. What kind of pencil neck geek does that look like? He's worth a lot these days. He's bought a lot of farmland in America. I'm sure you've heard of the guy. Come on.
With that much hair, I don't know.
Come on, look at it. Look at him.
That's Bill Gates?
The one and the same.
He's a redhead?
No, that's brown hair, dude. Might be your phone.
Damn, looks reddish.
But that's also Hawaii. But also, you do know that his father worked with the CIA, the NSA, and other groups, right? I mean, Bill Gates is really William Gates III. I don't know if anyone knows about that, but that's his full name, William Gates III. That's sort of old money. Again, the third. That indicates that, you belong to the elites. And obviously there's been interaction between them.
I always said Michelle Obama looked like Patrick Ewing with a wig.
Well, again, a lot of people have talked about this. A lot of people have pointed out, no, there's no way in hell that this person with the shoulders like this, with the height, with these proportions on the hands, there's no chance in hell that this person actually was born a woman. And many people who did call it out, well, they came to a very quick demise now, didn't they? But the fact is that, you can't deny it now, can you?
That's disgusting. Oh,
you want to see disgusting? Here you go. I'll show you disgusting. Right on the screen right now. It says, you don't help someone suffering from a delusion by reinforcing and facilitating the very delusion they are suffering from. So some people might consider that offensive. They'd be weak-minded, I'd have to say. But they're forgetting basic logic. I know, I'm sorry, but it had to be shown.
I don't know what's more disgusting, that picture or the one of Bullfrog without a shirt.
This one. I'd say this one's worse. I mean, I've seen fat guys at the beach. It's not that big of a deal.
Oh.
I've never seen them try to lick their own fucking nipples, but that's a different story. But yeah, here's a great image here talking about under 21 you can't drink alcohol. We don't trust you. Under 18 you can't have sex. We don't trust you. Under 17 you can't buy video games. We don't trust you. Under 16 you can't get a job. We don't trust you. Under 13 you can undergo drastic body alternate surgery and change your legal status. We completely trust you to make those life-changing decisions. Yeah, that makes sense now, doesn't it?
Yeah, they trusted to make the decision because they're the ones that made it for them. That's why.
Yeah, it's called grooming.
Because they convinced them. Yeah.
It's called grooming.
Because they groomed them into doing it, yep. Motherfuckers.
And you raise this point, you just simply point towards the to the statistics, and people just don't want to confront it. They're scared. Again, they think that they owe other people some sort of virtue signaling, which I find pathetic. It's like, oh, well, and it goes back really to what they think about being, on how they are being perceived. It's like, oh, well, what if they thought that I was hateful, or who gives a fuck?
That's the problem.
Who gives a
That's
fuck
the
if
problem.
they think you're fucking
They're worried
hateful?
about what other people are going to fucking think.
Yeah,
even though they know in their hearts it's
you want to call
wrong.
me a racist? Okay, well, you can make up your own mind, you know. Got black people that seem to like me, but hey, maybe they're just white supremacists like every other black person that doesn't agree with you. You know, because everyone else is telling me that black people that just don't fall in line with the Democratic plantation, they ain't black, Jack, just like Biden said. Okay, whatever. Again, it doesn't cost me shit, and I certainly laugh at it, but, you know, these people somehow think that they're going to coerce me. And again, I have God on my side, and I also have the law on my side. And mandates aren't law, and unlawful laws are illegal. So I will never be coerced into calling somebody something that they're not. And go fuck yourself. Simple as that.
Let me correct you on the one statement you said just a few seconds ago. It's what Biden said was, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. That's the fucking insulting thing, because you don't vote for an old white man who's a piece of shit, then yeah, you're not a black person. You're not black. I don't recognize you. I don't see you because you don't vote for me. If you would have said that shit about Hispanics, like this bitch wife with the fucking taco comment.
Oh, I'm glad actually I've got you here to talk about that. So you know about the Latinx thing. Latin
which is stupid.
X thing. Yes, yeah. Anybody that is Hispanic thinks it's fucking retarded. I always thought it was called Latinx, you know, like Sphinx or fucking Minx or something like that. And then I was told, no, it's pronounced Latin X. I'm like, well, why isn't it like the X-Men, like with like a slash, like Latin X? But, this whole thing, you know where it's spread now? Philippine X. As in Filipino X. So, if you bear with me here, people. Oh, here we go. No, hold on. Gotta keep searching my Skype here, but I did tweet it because it was fucking hilarious. And it has to be shared amongst you people because this was just way too fucking good. And here we go. Yeah, and I wish General Santos was watching right now, because this would be fucking. Because he's Filipino as well. He'd probably have a few words to say about this. But I'm going to actually just show my screen for my browser. It's just going to be easier than copying the image and all that crap. But let's transition here. And that's right, people. Donation lines are open. Even to you, the hate watchers. Because obviously I'm providing you with some sort of entertainment. But yes, Daily Wire tweeted this out, but it came from the San Diego Comic-Con, which happened July 21st. But it's just hilarious. So the Philippine X voices in pop culture was fun and educational. All Philippine X panel discussing Philippine X influences behind your favorite media.
You know what's really a shame?
She doesn't
is
look
that these
Philippine
motherfuckers...
X.
As these motherfuckers, just to be recognized and to be seen, compromise themselves and allow themselves to be called this shit. Instead of saying, no, I'm Filipino, I'm not no fellow fucking X. What the hell is this shit? But nope, you're gonna put me on stage? You're gonna, yeah, sure. Whatever. Just call me what you want.
Well, actually, there's another image that I want to show from that. Oh, there we go. So let's just transition here.
I tell you, if I was at that shit that Jill Biden was at when she said that taco shit, if I was in the audience, I would have yelled out, "Fuck you, you old non-doctor bitch," with your taco comment. Who the fuck?
Speaking of which, she's got a doctorate in education, and Whoopi Goldberg the other day on The View said, "Oh, she would be a great." I can't remember the position. The position in America to be the top doctor. Surgeon General. Yeah, so Whoopi Goldberg was like, she'd be a great Surgeon General. Bitch, she has a fucking PhD in education, not fucking medicine.
No, I was under the impression that the doctor title was just a honorary title from some college.
Well, yeah, it's an honorary title, but it's, because she studied education, but it's certainly not anything that would make her qualified to be
anything
Surgeon
that
General.
would be a doctor, yeah.
But yeah,
exactly.
So here, and look at the screen here. So I'm sure you'll understand. So, Latinx, Filipinx is woke terminology. It's an identity. Language is warfare. Exactly. Act accordingly. Make it rhyme with Sphinx and watch them ree. So Mexicans before ethnic studies, but the local forever homes, and then we got the fucking gay fucking Gayxican. I guess. Showing his fucking colors. Again, call himself Latinx. And then the Filipino, before, looking fucking badass, willing to fucking, kill a snake with his fucking bare hands. And then you have the woke Filipino, who's now Philippine X for Black Lives. So he likes the black cock, it looks like.
Fucking just a bunch of bullshit. But I'm glad she fucking exposed herself for the racist bitch that she is with that fucking mistake. And the Republicans up until November are gonna replay that shit over and over, just to remind the Latinos, this is the bitch that said we were tacos.
Well, they better vote the fuck out. In fact, they better fucking start showing some guts here.
Did you hear what the squad's going through right now? That they can't raise funds to run again.
Good. Fuck them all.
That people have abandoned them because they're tired of their shit. and they're blaming AOC mostly for it, especially
They're eating themselves. I love it.
especially with that fake handcuff bullshit. Her
Oh,
own
yeah.
people
Well,
are turning on her.
Her and the other one, the Muslim one.
Cory Booker.
No, the Muslim
No.
one.
They're not going after her so much as her. AOC
Ilhan
and Cory
Omar.
Booker.
Ilhan Omar. She also did the exact same thing. The exact same thing as AOC. So.
Yeah. Same day. Yeah. Yep. But they're really going after AOC, and I love it. And then the bitch goes on Twitter or some shit. I don't know what the hell it is, where they print out what she's saying because she thinks she's so cute, and then it has to be written out too. But she's like, "Oh, I think my people have my back because I wasn't faking what I was doing. I was making a statement, and if I fake, this is what didn't make any sense. She essentially said, if I fake being handcuffed and doing what I was doing, the protesting and shit, then why would I be fist bumping people? I go, bitch, if you were handcuffed, you couldn't fist bump. You're admitting you weren't fucking handcuffed. You stupid fuck. You're so damn ditzy, you don't even know what the fuck you're saying." Oh, but yeah, they said that they were once the powerhouse when it came to raising donations to run. They said now they're basically non-existent when it comes to raising money, donations for fucking not only themselves but the candidates that they want to endorse. So people are starting to distance themselves. You know, the wackos like them are distancing themselves from the squad. So I think it's awesome that shit's blowing up in their face once and for all.
Yep.
But I think the Democrats that do still exist, that do still want to vote Democrat, are actually starting to turn more to the moderate Democrats.
Well, yeah,
they
are.
For moderate Democrats.
They are.
So, but it doesn't matter because come November, it's going to be a blowout both in the Senate and the House. We're taking over. So thank God for that. And then fucking go after Biden.
It's funny you mentioned that because they're trying to put fake news out now saying, there's a good chance that the Democrats will take the Senate, in 2022 and stuff. And I think they're really panicking and.
It's Pelosi that's saying that.
Yeah, but again, if you take a look at the discontent, I mean, Biden's at his lowest approval rating with the Hispanics ever. And they're starting to see through this entire shit, but it took them long enough. And that's the big thing is that again he's trying to bring in all these illegals, and if you got fucking Hispanics here already saying fuck them, and they're welcoming some of these illegals in there, they'd be like, no, it's you vote for this guy, or give me your vote, I'm gonna go and fucking vote for you. So. There's a good chance that they will lose substantially, but the heat needs to be kept on. It's really pathetic that people are willing to just say, oh, well, it looks like we're going to win. No, you fight like your fucking country is at stake because it fucking is.
Well, the nice thing that they don't seem to understand, the Democrats, is there was a study for a 10-year period of illegals that came here and that were voting illegally, that they still tend to vote for party or for people that run based on family values and as far as economy stability. And it's not Democrats that they're voting for. Like they think that if they inundate this country with a lot of illegals, that it's going to swing their way. It's not turning out that way. These people, once they're established in our country, tend to vote Republican, and they're not paying attention to those statistics.
That depends. It really does.
It was a legit poll or study by some independent shit that they said that, believe it or not, they tend, like with the Cubans that came over illegally and shit.
That's different. That's different though from people from Nicaragua.
No, but even Central America. Yeah, no, but Central America, same thing. They want to get away from the communist type of shit.
No, but that's the thing though. They're not attracting those. They're attracting the fucking criminals, the fucking coyotes and stuff. They're trying to bring in the fucking drug dealers. So again, you've got all these people that are coming in that are adults, male of fighting age. And they're certainly not engineers. They're certainly not fleeing anything. They're literally part of MS-13 or.
Yeah.
all these other
They're-
groups.
They're not the type that fucking bring anything to the table except for maybe like farming, and that's about it. That's the only true skill that most of them have.
No,
if
but many
anything.
a times
That
they
or
come in
criminals.
claiming something and then they disappear because they weren't even that. They were just there to fucking try to get in, and now they're gonna hook up with their vatos and start dealing drugs and fucking running guns and all that shit. So a lot of the
Yeah.
ones that are at the border are fucking straight up fucking illegals, like as in like criminals, I should say, violent criminals.
I really believe as long as if we do win in November, the majority, and in 2024, I have a feeling we are definitely going to have a Republican president. I'm just hoping it's going to be a president that goes and says, this whole shit with the dreamers and stuff, we were willing to, go ahead and give you that. But you people kept fucking getting illegals in here. We're going to federalize the police to go after all these illegals, and we're going to throw them the fuck out. We're going to go on manhunts like they did on Operation Wetback. And we're going to fucking get every single illegal we can round up and send them the fuck back where they came from. I'm hoping that's what ends up happening. Is the next president that comes in that's a Republican goes ahead and does exactly that. Operation Wetback 2, you can even fucking call it. I don't give a shit what you call it. But do the same thing. Because the nice thing that was with Operation Wetback is most of those people self-deported. They left on their own.
Well, even when Trump was in power, a lot of people were like, "Nope, can't do this. He's gonna fucking get me deported. All this shit. I'm leaving." So that's what deterrent does. Is it makes people leave.
So let's pray to God that we fucking have a Republican majority and everything, including presidency, and get these fucking people out of here. Because this is just bullshit. The fucking tactics, and that fucking wall finally gets fully built. Also, they were talking about a month or so ago that Abbott was willing to go ahead and somehow take funding that his state generated and put it towards building their portion of the wall through completely, across Texas. And that Biden told him, you don't fucking have the right to do that. Trying to tell him what to do with the fucking state's money.
Yeah.
It wasn't federal money, state's money. And he said, you don't dare fucking do that shit to Governor Abbott. And apparently Governor Abbott didn't fucking do it. He backed down because he should have fucking done that. And it's insane the millions of dollars that are going into guys sitting on their asses just to overlook the supply, the fucking wall parts and shit that are just laying there collecting rust and whatever the fuck.
Yep. Now I'm gonna wrap up. We've been going close to 2.5 hours, so I appreciate your call.
Yeah, man.
And
I mainly really wanted to tell you about that COVID shit because I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that that's possibly still going on, that these hospitals are still making money off of just declaring anybody with COVID.
Yep.
It's crazy. But have a good rest of the show, man. Thanks for taking the call.
Thank you. All right, there goes Latino Heat. So we're going to wrap it up. We had a lot of watchers today throughout the show. Only one had the courage to call in. Many hate watchers, I'm sure. But fact is, as always, on Hard Right, we talk about the subjects that nobody else seems to have the courage to fucking discuss. Just want to have some fun, right? But I just want to talk the truth. And if that's too serious for you, I don't know. Go have a tantrum in a cereal aisle. Or, throw a boombox at a couch. But I, for one, am here. I'm not going anywhere. I talk the truth. And if you don't like it, not my fucking problem. On that note, I am Devious Dave Rose. Be sure to check out AEW tonight for Fight for the Fallen, if you like the wrestling, professional wrestling. And there'll be another episode of Hard Right, talking about things that nobody else has the courage to do. On that note, I am Devious Dave Rose, and we shall see you next time.